Welcome to Ace My Exams Learning. Let us get started with today's learning.
Categories of communication. The nature of communication depends on the number of individuals involved, leading to 4 distinct categories of communication. 1. Intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication is an individual's communication with oneself. This internal dialogue occurs when we contemplate thoughts or engage in subconscious self-talk. For example, contemplating decisions and evaluating choices. Like debating in your mind what to wear today to a party. Daydreaming. Reflecting on experiences. Recording thoughts, feelings, and experiences in a personal diary or journal. 2. Interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is communication between people, occurring between 2 individuals, within a group, or among different groups. Interpersonal communication occurs in diverse settings and contexts such as conversation between colleagues during day-to-day activities, formal meeting discussions, job interview communication between an interviewer and an applicant, formal meeting discussions such as formal meetings, wage negotiations between a company and a union, presenting a speech or chairing a meeting. 3. Extrapersonal communication. Extrapersonal communication extends beyond human-to-human interactions to include communication with non-human entities. It involves communicating with animals, objects, or plants, such as engaging in dialogue or expressing thoughts towards animals, inanimate objects, or plants. For example, talking to plants or expressing frustration at a slow computer. 4. Mass communication. Mass communication is a form of communication that occurs between a sender and a large audience who are not personally known to each other. The message is disseminated via mass media channels such as television, radio, film, newspapers, magazines, books, and computers. These platforms enable the dissemination of information to a wide audience simultaneously, and each person receiving the same message will interpret the message individually. Examples include advertisements about products, or public announcements published in newspapers, or broadcast on television. Difference between mass communication and interpersonal communication. 1. Sender. In mass communication, the sender is usually a faceless spokesperson of a huge organization, such as a political reporter of a newspaper. This sender has indirect contact with the intended receiver, or target audience, and has no guarantee that the message will reach them. In interpersonal communication, the sender is an individual expressing his own opinion, or that of the group he represents. This sender is usually directly known to the receivers, and is reasonably sure that his message will reach them. 2. The message in mass communication is typically a deliberate, mass-oriented utterance. It is aimed at providing specific information or persuading the intended receivers, target audience, to adopt a specific point of view. In interpersonal communication, the message is usually deliberate and is aimed at informing or persuading a specific individual or group of individuals. 3. Mass communication involves a channel that usually includes sophisticated technology and complicated, indirect means of distribution. This channel is subject to many physical factors that could distort the message. Interpersonal communication involves a channel that either is direct, face-to-face, or indirect transmission, e.g., telephone or letter. 4. Feedback in mass communication is indirect and delayed. Feedback in interpersonal communication can be direct or indirect, immediate or delayed, and can be verbal or nonverbal. Verbal communication. Verbal communication involves the use of words in various forms, including speaking, writing, reading, and listening. It can be oral or written. Oral communication. Oral communication is the use of spoken words to convey information or messages, and can take various forms such as face-to-face interactions, meetings, interviews, group discussions, presentations, and telephone conversations. Oral communication can be direct or indirect. Direct oral communication is a face-to-face interaction with 1 to 5 individuals. This form of communication happens in meetings, interviews, group discussions, and client receptions. It includes giving and listening to instructions, explaining problems to superiors, dealing with visitors, and marketing products or ideas. Indirect oral communication is used in telephone conversations and public addresses. This form of communication does not involve continuous eye contact between the sender and the receiver. Written communication. Written communication can also be direct or indirect. Direct written communication is effectively utilized in various business documents such as letters, memos, faxes, notices, agendas, and reports to communicate to individual recipients. On the other hand, indirect written communication involves mediums such as newspaper reports, press releases, and advertisements. These written forms of communication are used to address the broader audience of the general public. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication involves conveying messages without using words, such as using facial expressions, gestures, sign language, or objects to communicate. Different types of nonverbal communication, also known as semiology, can be identified as outlined below. 1. Visual semiology. Visual semiology involves communication through visual cues that need to be seen by the receiver. This includes body movements, graphs, or appearance. The effectiveness of visual nonverbal communication relies on the receiver's ability to see. 2. Kinesics. Kinesics involves the study of body movements as a form of nonverbal communication, using gestures, facial expressions, and posture. Here are some key elements of kinesics. Facial expression. The face communicates various emotions and attitudes. For instance, a smile often indicates a welcoming demeanor or approval of an idea. Conversely, a frown may signal a lack of understanding or discontent with a decision. Gestures. Actions like loosening a tie can signify nervousness or suggest a need to relax. On the other hand, rolling up sleeves might convey a readiness to engage or a signal to get down to work. Finger drumming is a gesture that often reflects impatience or tension. Posture. Body posture can reveal a person's state of mind. Resting one's head on their arm may indicate boredom, disinterest, or fatigue. Dropping shoulders is a nonverbal expression associated with feelings of discouragement, lack of motivation, disappointment, or pessimism.
Thank you for watching this video. Remember to subscribe and be the first to know when we upload new videos.